Everybody, welcome to the Ever Better podcast, episode 9. This is Perpetual AMA number 4. My name's Eric, and what we do on these shows is me or sometimes me and a guest will go through about 8 or so questions on either the Find a Path or Deciding to Be Better subreddits. I might expand that into some other subreddits as time goes on, and just try to answer questions and give people some decent advice. It's a good way to I think give a little personal touch to what sometimes feels like really impersonal posts where someone puts like their life story out there and they don't get a response, or they get like a one sentence response. And in times like these, I think we could all use a little, sometimes just having a face-to-face interaction with somebody where they give you advice from the heart can go a long way. So that's what I'm trying to do, and I will get started. So our first one today comes from Find a Path, and this is from meaganthedragon. I'd like to find something more interesting than just sitting in an office all day talking to insurances. Where do I start? I currently work in healthcare, and I'm basically sitting in a closet all day for 9 hours a day. I have a fantastic boss and great coworkers, and the PTO and benefits are amazing, but I'm bored. I want to do something more interesting than just calling insurances all day. Ideally, I'd like to do marketing or some kind of business ethics, but I'm not sure where to start. I have an associate's in business admin, but we don't really get into specifics, just the basics of business. I don't know if I can afford going back to college, but I'm really getting antsy and ready to move on. Can anyone offer advice on where to start with this? So I can a little bit. If you're interested in marketing at all, a good way to gauge that is to go through Google's Digital Garage. So these are free marketing courses online. A couple hours a week you can dedicate to it, and it's really a good way to test whether marketing is for you. And if you are into marketing, the good news is creative people are in short supply, and I imagine that's true in most industries. Although insurance, if you've ever watched it seems like insurance, Geico and Progressive and all these insurance companies just threw caution to the wind and started doing whatever they want in commercials all at once. And there are no rules anymore. So if anything, insurance is the field where you can be most creative in marketing. But I don't think that you have to necessarily have a marketing background to get in there. I think it just attracts creative people. I did not have a marketing background, though I currently work in marketing. Most of my background was technology, but I had this creative bug the whole time. So I made the switch slowly but surely. Like whenever there's an opportunity to contribute feedback to your work, or they're looking for ideas, or if there's an idea submission program and you've thought of like a really creative way to market insurance that maybe somebody hasn't thought of, just go for it. I mean, you don't have much to lose. And I'm telling you, creativity is rewarded in most industries because it's a rare commodity. So yeah, find if you have an idea, an internal submission program for ideas, go that route. Insurance, probably not the sexiest industry in the world, which is why these ads are just so don't give a shit, kind of whatever we want to do, we're going to do. But if you can just find creative ways to reach people, you'll be in demand. So check out Google's Digital Garage, though. Seriously, it's a really good set of free courses that will tackle every aspect of marketing that you might be interested in, from paid search to social media to writing good copy. I think they've got courses for pretty much everything that you could possibly dream of there. And I hope that helps. So. All right, next up is from snarfarlarkus. This is probably some pop culture part of the zeitgeist that I just don't know, but snarfarlarkus. What are some good ways to self-improve during this quarantine? I can really speak to this one. So my full-time job, which is in marketing, I now work from home, and that saved me about an hour and a half commute round trip every day. And really that hour and a half was more like 2 hours when you consider stops for groceries, or maybe I had to stop to pick up chicken food or cat food or something. And that time, that extra 2 hours has been incredible. Like, it's the lights off in the room next to me, but I could show you there's a garden in there. We started an indoor garden. I started making kombucha. Just why not? And I've got more time to dedicate to just doing creative things and starting this podcast, for instance. And these are the ways I'm doing it. But if there's ever something that you've always wished you had enough time for, but just never have, and now you're quarantined, you probably have a surplus of time somewhere. And rather than spend it watching Netflix, which is really tempting, I hear like Tiger King is awesome, but spend that pursuing something new or spend that doing something new. And I don't think you can go wrong with that. Any time invested in yourself is good time. Next up, from 88_notes, how to stay productive whilst being at home, advice/stories. This seems like a good time to start a discussion on this, as it looks like a lot of us are going to be spending lots of time at home for the foreseeable future. I'm someone who really needs structure and outside pressure to get things done. Now that I'm home a lot, I lose the structure from university and the interactions with people telling me to stay on track. There are plenty of things I should or need to be doing, and I have more time than ever before to devote to them. Yet somehow I find it hard to bring myself to do them, and so easy to stay up until 4 a.m. on Reddit and stay in bed all day watching Netflix. This is timely. This obviously doesn't only apply for right now, as I've struggled with the same thing in the past during holidays and weekends, etc. Anyway, wondering if anyone else struggles with this or can share some advice. I know that I want to be working hard and getting stuff done, and it always feels shitty knowing that I've wasted a whole day where I could have been doing something productive. But somehow in the moment, I just can't bring myself to do what I need to do. I definitely struggle with this. Maybe earlier on, like the first couple days, it was kind of tough to get into a habit. But eventually I started, if you've ever heard of like the Pomodoro method, where you take you just set a timer. I've got my my Google Home here next to me, and I just say like, every hour I'll tell it like, hey, Google, set an alarm for 45 minutes from now. And every 45 minutes it'll go off. I'll get up, I'll do something, whether it's just stretch my legs or do a couple jumping jacks or some push-ups or something. And that kind of recharges your brain. Like it breaks whatever pattern you were stuck in, unless you're in some kind of flow state where you're really churning out something good. That break in the pattern really helps reset your mind. You sit back down and you can kind of be productive again. Or even if you're doing something, having that break, do something else for a little bit, then come back to it. And sometimes you can see, when you see things with fresh eyes, sometimes you get like you find a way through something if you're hacking a problem or something. So Pomodoro method, look into it. I hope that helps. Next up, from xxxpandoraxxx, the 6 X's, that when you sandwich the X's, it makes it extra sexy. I'm always going from one skill to another without mastering it. Am I in my head? Hey everyone, I'm always like learning multiple skills and going from one to another without mastering any one of those. The reason, I feel like there might not be enough money in a single skill set that I might be after, so it might be better to learn multiple skills. Nevertheless, I enjoy learning. Is it really like that, or am I just over concerned about that stuff? I suffer from the same problem. I get good at something and then I move on to something else before I ever really master it. In the past year, I got good at bread baking for a little while, and then I let my starter go to shit and it got mold on top and it was disgusting. I'm the worst beekeeper in the world. I got really into it for a year, and now every winter I seem to lose a hive. I've got 3 now. Doesn't look like one of them made it through the winter. But I never really get great at something. I move on and learn something new. It isn't because of money. It's just because I'm interested in other things. And you might be too. You cite money as a reason, but really that's not a correct way of thinking about it, because if you're really in it to make money and you're learning things to make money, if you're good at something, if you're the best at whatever it is, whether it's blacksmithing or knife making or whatever it is, people will pay you handsomely for it. There is money in expertise. And if you're a master at something, there's a market for it, whether it's as an entrepreneur or whether it is a more traditional job role like marketing or sales or whatever. So I think the money is an excuse, and maybe maybe you're substituting in that you won't make enough money in because you're really just interested in learning new things, and that's okay too. But I don't think that the money is a valid reason for switching. If that is the reason, then you're just wrong. And if you just if you master something, you're gonna make money at it. Unless it's something that just doesn't I don't think the best janitor in the world, even if they're the best at it, is, well, maybe they are. I don't know. If you're like a really top-notch janitor, maybe you make bank, but I don't think the money is it. So I hope that helped you. xxxpandoraxxx. Next up, butter is butter side up or down. I don't know what that means. Again, this is signs that I'm getting old. Changing career to finance, accounting, law, or IT. Hi all, I've basically had a bit of a quarter-life meltdown because what followed what I thought was my passion and did music as an undergrad, then theater directing, and I'm realizing now there's very little money or hope involved in either. Again, not so. You just have to be the best at it. Go ask the best music. Even like regionally touring musicians can do just fine for themselves. And also, by the way, I just turned 40. Money, not everything. It really, when you get to this point, you just value time and you value how you enjoy it. That isn't to say you don't need to make money to cover things like probably some student loans if you were an undergrad. But it isn't, it's so cliche to say money isn't everything, but it really isn't. I realized I'm really not that creative. I thought I was. Turns out I was better at analyzing why something is creative, and even good works were just insanely difficult and cliche to churn out. I also have little in the way of motivation, considering I would be working for nothing for so much of the time. And considering the amount of work that goes into it with no guarantee of selling, distributing, or being chosen, I realized I could have spent all that time, money, and effort in chasing a career that has actual upward mobility and a clear career progression. I'd prefer to work and then pursue the fine arts as a hobby in my spare time and actually have money to pay for it. My options: do postgraduate in accounting, then my CA, do postgraduate in finance, then my CFA, do postgraduate in IT and work in IT, do JD in law and become a barrister. My background: female, 26, communication skills, undergraduate degrees and experience in fine arts and liberal arts, theater and filmmaking. No prior degrees in maths or science. Stupid, yeah. My concerns: wanting stability, wanting money. I've spent too many years wallowing in poverty as a wannabe artist and realized I need money to feel stable, secure, and to live a good life. You're right. Not too much creativity, would prefer more by the numbers and 1 + 1 = 2, not talk your way out of it, and therefore nothing is certain. Things to note: I'm interested in law because I'm quite good at humanities, but there apparently is very little actual work and too many law graduates. Question? IT seems to be growing in terms of jobs, but I've never done any work in it, and apparently there are whiz kids in programming or engineering, etc. I doubt I have that capacity. 3. Accounting and finance seem like they are the most stable. Please let me know what you'd recommend. What are jobs and pay in these sectors like? Thank you so much. I can't speak for accounting, but I did just go through a graduate program for 2 years with a lot of accounting courses, and it is mind-numbing. Hug an accountant if you have an accountant in your life. It is really just, although if you like 1 + 1 = 2, maybe you are wired differently. But yeah, that does not seem fun for me ever. If somebody came in here right now and offered me a CFO job, I would say no, thank you. IT, I can speak for IT. I did some programming for a while. I was a web developer for a startup for 8 years, and I worked for the state doing IT work for about 12 years, and a bank as well. You'll certainly make money. And it's growing too. So I wouldn't worry about like whiz kids in programming. There are so many different areas of IT that you could get involved with that don't involve just programming. But if you've got that 1 + 1 = 2, that logical brain, IT or programming or something in tech might be for you. I'm trying to think of what some good advice would be for getting in, for testing the waters here to see whether IT is for you. I don't know if I have anything. take some courses. I mean, really, just take some. A common theme you'll see in this advice I give people is to try to. I mean, it's common in business too. This isn't my own original thought, but fail as quickly as possible at things. So try to prove in your logic brain, you'll get this. Try to prove that IT isn't for you. So just immerse yourself in as many and as cheaply as possible, because you've got debt, you're struggling, you were a starving artist. So focus on failing as quickly as possible in IT, and that's one. Unlike the other ones, like accounting or finance, I wouldn't say that finance and accounting, by the way, are the most stable. I just had an idea. All right. So here's how you merge it all. Go on to uipath.com and sign up for their RPA their RPA beginner course. It takes about 40 hours. You'll get a certification that looks really good on your profile or your resume or your CV or whatever. It's a really great test for whether or not you'll be into the logic behind IT and the logic behind programming. And if you can build, like RPA is robotic process automation, if you're not familiar, and if you can start to build software robots, you will be employed for the foreseeable future. RPA, the reason the light bulb just went off in my brain there, and you could probably smell my brain cooking through the screen, is because RPA bots are probably going to replace a lot of accounting and finance jobs. Any process that you can that's repetitive on a computer, or a lot of back office processes in accounting and finance are being automated by bots right now. Pay wise, it's at a huge premium right now. People are an arm of the consultancy that I'm trying to build up is going to focus on RPA, building bots, because it's such a high margin service right now, and you can build a bot that saves people. If it saves a company hundreds of hours a month, what's that worth to them? It's a very high margin service. You'll take to it right away, I promise. UiPath makes it awesome. Automation Anywhere and Blue Prism are two other good ones, but UiPath's just the one that I've gone down the rabbit hole with more. It's really easy to get started. It's fun, and once you if and it might even spark a little bit, if there is any like remnant creative brain in you, it might spark that up again. And you might start to see possibilities for bots that haven't been explored yet. Like this is still the Wild West as far as software robots go. So there's still plenty of room. There's not a ton of whiz kids ready to that are going to pounce on you right away and take your job. RPA is in demand. It's awesome. It's a good entry point for if you haven't worked in IT before, getting to know it, and it solves problems. Like it solves real problems. So that's my advice. Most of the advice I give on here is probably shit. That's really good. You should take it. Go on to UiPath. I'll put a link in the show notes, and I'll link it I'll reply to your post here and link it as well. Give it a shot. I think you'll be surprised. All right, next up, BecauseCanada. Is my career path realistic and viable? Hello, I'm currently a sophomore, 16M, and I've been considering a path to work in international relations/studies type jobs with an ultimate goal of being hired by the Department of State and working in an embassy. That's an ambitious goal, man. I'm working towards majoring in international relations with a minor in Asian studies in college for this goal. Additionally, I'm working towards joining the U.S. Navy/Air Force. I have a great passion for international political, culture, and learning language. I myself am a member of Model UN. Additionally, I'm working towards taking abroad programs in both high school and college. However, despite this, I find myself quite worried if I can truly get a job in the field. I'm concerned that even if I try hard enough, that I still won't be able to have a stable, well-paying job. So is this path realistic and doable? Thank you in advance. Yes, it is. And it sounds like you're already doing the right things. You're in Model UN. Especially if you join the military, you're going to be, you're doing all the right things, and you're 16 and you have this level of clarity for your future. Good for you. I did not at 16. I was a horrible 16-year-old and did not want to do what I was on the path to be doing. what I ultimately did out of undergrad, which was computer science and programming. But it was what I was good at. And it sounds like you have something that it sounds like you have an aptitude for and you're passionate about. So you are doing exactly what you should be doing to get to a stable, well-paying job. Between the military and then if you end up working in government, that's about as stable as it gets right now. I actually left a government job a couple of years ago to the chagrin of my family, who were like, "Why would you ever leave a government job?" And it just wasn't for me. I wasn't being challenged, and it was also in IT, not in something exciting like working in an embassy. So yeah, man, you're doing the right things. You're only a sophomore. You're 16, and it sounds like you're kicking ass. So keep doing what you're doing, and I think you're going to be okay because Canada. Next up, GOPO. Is there already a name for a type of historian whose medium is primarily data visualizations? Hello, I received my bachelor's in mathematics and have been working as a data analyst for about a year now at a tech startup. I have a strong background in SQL and intermediate Tableau skills. I love the technical aspects of what I do, but I don't feel very passionate about working for a tech company. I'm interested in social equality and would love to combine that with my current technical skills. A lot of people have recommended data journalism, but I'm not interested in being a journalist. I'm more interested in being a historian. The difference I see is that a journalist reports on current events in an objective manner, whereas a historian, words, writes about historical events and often includes some type of analysis. I'd like to report on more recent historical events because I need a lot of data to work with. I imagine this would most likely be 80s and onwards, and create data visuals to analyze past events. The topic that interests me most is education, but I'm also interested in gender equality and access to healthcare. Is there already a concrete path for this? Or is my best bet working for a nonprofit and marketing my career vision as something useful? I don't know if there's a career path for this, but I will tell you that some of the most viral posts from the past couple years have been these Tableau animations where they have like the most popular the most popular companies of the last 40 years where there is the good data set, like you mentioned. And it shows, like, you'll see it starts with Coca-Cola and Pepsi out here. And then all of a sudden you see this little blip like, hey, it's Microsoft. Apple's all the way down here. Nobody's ever heard of them. And then it's, as you're going through the 80s, it starts to shift. And then by the 90s, other ones are starting to come to the fore. AOL's up there. And then by the 2000s, all of a sudden you just see Apple fly past everybody and Google appears and just shoots past everybody. I'm not telling you should just go be a Tableau YouTube viral influencer. I don't even, is that would be the career path for historians who know how to do data visuals. But there's also museums are really trying to modernize and have and technical people or people with your skill set with Tableau especially aren't attracted to those careers. So I feel like you would be able to, if you can get a position maybe as an interpreter as a museum, get your foot in the door somehow and then start flexing your skills there. Like if you just work your way in there, you might be able to shape an entire program. Like if you started working for just a small, even if it was just like a local county museum or a historical society or something, and just started doing it there. Like that could be your training ground, give you a little bit of stability, and you can just start seeing like, all right, start finding the visuals to create and start seeing if it delivers value to people who visit the site. And I think that might be really cool. So yeah, I don't think there is. You could probably make one. Maybe there is. Historian whose medium is primarily like historical analyst or something. There's probably a title that I'm just missing. So look into it more. But that'd be my guess or my recommendation. And finally, Num 2005 writes, my company and bosses are doing things completely unethical. Parentheses, still legal, but 200% unethical. At a certain point, the percentage must get into illegal territory. I mean, 110% unethical, I would think is still legal, but 200%, that's probably shady. Is there a way to give my resignation and still get unemployment, or am I stuck there until I find something else? My company and boss are the same exact post and description are the same. All right. I don't know I don't know I don't believe if you resign, you can get unemployment. I think you have to be fired. As far as them doing something unethical, but still legal, you can report such things to, if there's a whatever jurisdiction you're in. I don't know where in the world you are, but there's probably an ethics board somewhere for the state that you can report these things to. Maybe the Better Business Bureau. I don't know. There's some local authority where you can report ethics violations. If your workforce is unionized and you have a union steward, you can go to them. Does your company have a whistleblower policy? Because you could do that as well. Like if they would protect you in that case. Because maybe I don't know what level you're at, but if your bosses are like middle management, but the CEO definitely wants to know about shady shit going on, maybe you have a path to do that. I've never been in this position. I've never blown in somebody for unethical practices, so I can't give you great advice here. But look into your options and write them all down. Like find out what's at your county or your town or your state level as far as an ethics board. If you're unionized, look into that route, and then look in your company's HR policies to see if there is a whistleblower protection clause or something in those. All right. That's a wrap for today. Thank you, everybody, and I hope you got some value out of this. I'll tag everybody whose questions I answered. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, share this, subscribe on YouTube, or write me a kind review on iTunes. I'll be back next Tuesday and Thursday with more questions answered. Take care of each other. I know it's hectic times, and I appreciate every one of you.